Well, well, well. Looks like it's another week of the Palms Up Show. Hey, 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 Palms Up. How's it going out there, Facebook? Would you do us a favor and share the link? We've got a wonderful guest on this week, and I know you know I always say that. Palms up to you, Overseer. How are you this week? Uh-oh, she ain't ready. She ain't ready.
I'm
Uh-uh.
ready. I know
How's
I
it
had
going,
my mute
Queen?
on.
How's
It's
it
going
going?
well today. It's going well. A little chilly, but it's going good
It
today.
is chilly. It is chilly. Palms up
Hmm.
out there, guys. We want to give you a chance to get in place so you know that we on. I know we didn't send the promos out. I know. Shame on us. How's it going out there, guys? We are so excited to be back for another week. And yes, we do all kinds of things. But most importantly, we're going to be talking to our guest, Mr. Christopher Gassaway, who has traveled from the Washington, D.C. area all the way to Bellingham, Washington. And that's right, we're going to talk to him about why that trip was so important for him, how long he's been planning it, and how excited he must be to have arrived. Guys, it's your girl, Palms up to you. If you want to join the discussion this week, please go get the link at www.healthydcandme.org. Make sure you spell the word and out, and you'll be able to link to come right on in. Hey guys, we are celebrating 3 years on the air. That's right, 3 years of the Palms Up Show. Palms Up. Queen, you remember that first show all those years ago?
Oh, yeah. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And my mind goes back to
Haven't we?
all the obstacles we had to get through. But every
Woo!
week it happened. It happened. I can't
Hey,
believe it's been 3 years. It don't seem like
three
it.
years.
Time
3 years.
flies.
Talk about
Wow.
mental health illness, talking to them about mental health mattering. That's right. Palms up out there. And we are so appreciative of our wonderful viewers, our loyal followers who are sharing this link tonight for us and making sure that it's going everywhere. Palms up to you. Guys, I want you to know that we are, in addition to celebrating 3 years on the air, you know us, we've been on the ground, we've been in those communities, we even ran for office. I mean, we've been busy Palms Up since this show came on the air. And the whole reason behind why we started the Palms Up show was to be able to make sure we had a platform to talk about things that are affecting our communities, make sure we had an avenue for educating, being able to bring sheroes and heroes before you because there's so much work to be done out there on that ground. So it's your girl every week, and we are so excited to come before you. We thank you for tuning in. We thank you for following and supporting us. And I am hopeful that many of you have already signed up to join us as we rally to Congress. Guys, as you know, mental health matters and it crosses all borders. And the reason why we started the platform and started the organization, because a lot of people have a stigma about mental health, right? I mean, can we just talk about it? A lot of people get a little uncomfortable when they hear the words mental health. And you know, our yesterday's understanding about mental health had us believing that because you had a diagnosis that you were so different from all of us and that you needed to be locked up. You know, they used to institutionalize our folks. And there are times when people's behaviors are not satisfactory enough or if they need medicine and it's not properly diagnosed. There are many reasons for why someone's behavior or emotions are out of whack. But the reality is that we want you all to know, which is why we started the Palms Up platform. We want you to know that our citizens are much more than any diagnosis that they can receive. And when we place limitations on people because we don't understand, then it really says more about us. Amen. It says more about us when we try to put people in boxes because we don't understand the nature of their mental health with the reality that they can still live a wonderful life despite their mental health. The Palms Up platform and the Healthy DCME Leadership Coalition, along with MI Mother's Keeper, our other organization, we realize that our citizens, they deserve the opportunity to live the best version of their lives, palms up out there. And if you're someone who hasn't been comfortable or familiar with what mental health means and the fact that there are many different layers and levels, we welcome your conversation. We never come in judgment. We always come to educate because we want you all out there to understand that we all, at the end of the day, are in this together, palms up. So, with that said, did you know we're going to Congress? Yes, we are on February 29th, the last day of Black History Month. We're going to Congress because we have so many families, especially over in Ward 7. Shout out to Ward 7 DC and across the nation. There are so many families suffering with their dialysis. Did you know? Did you understand that many corporations, with two big ones, Fresenius and DaVita, you see those DaVita centers all over the place? Yeah, guys, they're making billions of dollars, but we want to understand what's going on with the dried up blood on the machines. We want to know about the body disfigurement that many of the citizens are experiencing because the needles are not poked in the proper places in their body. We want to understand about these folks that have to go to these centers and sit next to folks that are dying while they're getting their treatment and they just cover them up with a cloth and keep going. Guys, there is so much going on in our healthcare industry, and it's so important that we make certain that we're helping to speak up and advocate for our citizens. And so, as mental health advocates, you're going to see us working in all arenas because at the end of the day, if we can't help people find a foundation, a solid foundation, whether it's because they're dealing with healthcare matters, because economically they just can't afford to pay the bills. Guys, there are many reasons that we can find ourselves feeling challenged mentally. And that's why we do this work. We've been educating and teaching you for 3 years now that mental health is surrounding the 8 essentials of wellness. We talked to you about the importance of having a spiritual foundation. We talked to you about the importance of having a social foundation. We talked to you about the importance of being stable in your work. Financial foundations are important. Physical health understandings are important. Your environment impacts your mental health understanding. Intellectual foundations are important, and also your emotional state. And so we understand that if we're working towards a well rounded understanding, then we can be working on our mental wellness. And when we understand it in that context, then maybe we have better understandings about what mental health is. So, guys, it looks like our guest, Mr. Christopher, is going to be coming back in and joining us shortly. But I just really wanted to take an opportunity to come before you and to thank you for celebrating and supporting the Palms Up platform for the last 3 years. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. We're losing our community members. Want to shout out Mr. Royal Heights. Had a wonderful opportunity to attend his homegoing service. And I mean, we lost a good one, guys. Palms up to Royal Height. Royal was just a wonderful servant of God. He had a big heart. So honored to have served, been asked to serve on his Black Music Awareness Foundation board. And I'm telling you, we have got to keep doing this work in the community because we are losing some good souls. The bullets are still going off. The gun violence, as you heard us talk about, Volunteers of America's gun violence spiritual colloquium that's happening on March the 9th from 1 to 6 p.m. at the Metropolitan Community Church of Washington. Sis, come on and unmute and let's talk. It looks like our guests are running late, so we're just going to have a conversation tonight, and I want to be able to engage our audience as it relates to all of the groundwork that we've been doing. We've been outreaching for the housing communities. I'm so proud of our communities that have gone down to testify to let the council members know that they are not willing to accept below standards in their living, the mold, the mice, the roaches, the asbestos for some, the safety issues, guys, no hot water still, no heat. And it's election season, so it's important that you guys are speaking it up out there. HealthyDCME.org is our website. We are on the ground. We're so excited. We've got Wingate representatives at the table. We've got Woodbury Village is still complaining about their housing conditions. Marbury Plaza, which has been in the news as of late, they're still going through it. We've got Chesapeake Street, one of the communities on Chesapeake Street Southeast has joined the fire. Who else? Nash Place over in Ward 7 has joined the fight. Shout out to all of our communities out there that are speaking up and letting DC leadership know that they're not willing to live with low standards in their living any longer. Okay, sis, come on and talk to me a little bit about where you are with, what we're dealing with. I want to tell you about this gun violence. There's some statistics out there, and then you tell me where you are with it mentally, because I know we talk about this a lot. You're very big on talking about our mouths and how we use our energy,
Yeah,
which are
yeah,
guns as well. But we talked about last year ending the gun violence. I believe the number was 274. And in that number, we had 19 deaths that were happening to people ages 18 and younger. And two of those deaths were infants. As we start off 2024, we're at 9 homicides year to date. And actually, it looks like we got 77 assaults with dangerous weapons already. We got 198 robberies already. We got 416 motor vehicle thefts already. Already. And we are 30 days into the year. So, guys, we need you advocating. We need you standing with us. We need you doing something different in the new year. Come on out to the Gun Violence Colloquium on March the 9th and use your voice. They are allowing folks to give their testimonies, and gun violence is so prevalent in our communities. No one should be quiet at this point. Hey, sis, you got anything you want to share this week before we get started and invite Christopher to tell us about his journey to Bellingham, Washington? This gun violence, our people, this housing situation, anything. Help us understand what's on your mindset.
it's really a sad situation if I keep it 100.
Yeah.
People that used to have hope are getting to the point that they don't even have hope. And it's causing an uprising of death.
Yeah.
Death, we again, when I look at guns, I look at it more than just shooting off that metal gun. I just look at everyday life, how things go for people, how people are being treated. And the final thing is they go out here and they pop off and stand a chance of getting shot. Last week we had in Prince George's County, some crazy person in the Landover Lanham area jumping out, stabbing folk. They caught them, but again, when they do catch them, they just don't care. People's feelings are numb now. They act like robots. So when you act like a robot don't have any feeling. It only do what it's programmed to do. And the violence that we see every day, it seems like on TV that it's a regular way of behavior now, that is acceptable now, that you ain't cool if you ain't out hurting or killing somebody. The way our legislation is set up is they're not going to help you unless you in the system. So again, people have no hope, don't see any way to advance in their life. Used to be on a job, it was secure once you pass your probation. Jobs are not even secure no more. They say so many job openings out here, but I meet so many that are very well educated, go and apply for them and get nothing. And then they turn to a life of crime. And then they get all the help they need. But the sad part about that, after that program, guess what? They back out on the street. I'm going to say butt out. I'm not going to say the A word. Again, the system use the people. And we have to understand, as a people, what made us powerful back in segregation day, to be honest, we stood together no matter what the government said. We stood together if one had, the other had. And we watched out for each other. We were actually more richer when we were struggling than now. The Western civilization say we can be a part of this civilization. It's all a setup. It's all a setup.
I agree. I'm with you there. And I'm listening as you're talking, and you're right. The scariest thing is that right now, we have several generations that are living, together. And, we clearly are not who we were yesterday. And the truth of the matter is, I'm worried that what is our Gen Z? Our Gen Z is so far removed from our elders. I thought about that when we we're burying our dear Mr. Royal Height. He's the great nephew of Dorothy Height, but I wonder how many of our Gen Z and millennial populations even understand who Dorothy Height was and what that means on the community level. I mean, we're so disconnected. And the reality is that what they say, AI is coming up. We got so many community members that are challenged in their reading and their literacy that this AI is going to be dangerous anytime you can't think or prepare your own understandings. And then you've got machines and the system coming along to create understandings. I'm just worried about how many we're going to leave behind. And it just shouldn't be that way. It's really frustrating to watch, some of our community members, they're frustrated. They figure we'll just save the ones we can. If they don't want it, they just, if they don't want to live decent or be better or do better, we'll just leave them where they are and keep on going. But you just touched on something. Back in the day, we stood together.
Yeah, we did.
Stood together.
And you know what, Rhonda, I was thinking when you said with the AI moving forward, it's been the plan all along, if you think about it. But we didn't realize it. We didn't realize it. I looked at when I was in high school, they wanted us to take up data entry. And this was back when the computer first came out. And we actually had, it was like a time card that we would put in the machine and would type, and it would make different things. So then it would read. And then I can remember when I first started under the Berry administration down at the Department of Employment Services. When I first started, we had the electric typewriter. And then it came out, was it the Apple computer was the first word processing machine. And we were so excited about that. And when you sit back and look at time, our country has been moving forward. And I'm just going to be honest, from the spiritual side, it's almost like man is trying to overdo God.
That's deep. That's palms up. That's deep.
He's really competing with God. A lot of things aren't allowed in the United States, and there's some things I still can't reveal. I retired from the Patent and Trademark Office, and a lot of stuff that's going on, it don't surprise me.
Yeah.
Being in that field, now it makes me realize, man, they were preparing all this time.
And they do it right in front of you. I'm so glad you made that point. I look at DC, one of my seniors, shout out to my seniors from Nashville. So I had the beautiful opportunity to spend the weekend with on Saturday. And my senior, she said, I'm 76 and every 20 years we see this mess show up. And the truth of the matter is, there's a plan, it's in place, but what's that old adage? How do you hide something from a Black person? Put it in a book. It is time for us to start being accountable, because we seem to think because we emotional or because we carrying on or fussing or cussing or raising Cain, I'll say, that people care. And nobody running to rescue us out of these communities. You've got to stand up. And the truth of the matter is that we got to do better and be better for our children. We can't keep having these same stories, but we ain't got no business being left behind. You're talking about computers and data entry and things like that. We are light years from where we started, but as a culture, we haven't really done anything with it, right? A lot of our youth are on the computers and this social media, but the truth of the matter is we can't even help them with it. We can't police them. Really, we can't really control, because we don't know what they're doing. It's a whole underground, a dark web, and our kids are facing so much trauma and trouble, and we keep not got to go to work and keep the bills paid, and it's a whole nother life, a whole nother energy that's going on out here. And I mean, I tell you, it's going to leave you behind, palms up. That's why we fighting for mental health rights, fighting for dialysis understanding, making sure folks know that these guns have to stop. We have to be embedded in the social issues, because our social issues are being lost to political issues. And people with hidden agendas or with other agendas that don't include us are going to leave our behinds right behind palms up. So
Mhm.
I thank you for pointing that out, and I'm so glad we have a platform where we can just keep it 100. Christopher Gassaway, let's pivot for a minute, talking about the next generation. Mr. Christopher Gassaway, I'm so honored to have you on the Palms Up platform this evening. I saw that you were having some communication issues. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Poor thing, he waited all this time to be on the Palms Up show, and now his computer want to be acting up. Well, we're going to wait and see if Christopher has an opportunity to chime in. In the meantime, sis, I was just thinking about when you were talking about the AI again, and we are talking about how, when you were at patent and trademark, the truth of the matter is that, every other population prepares.
But you know what it is?
Come on.
And I keep telling you, we're going to need security. America, because I have friends abroad and stuff, in ministry, so I get to learn a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
America is one of the most hate country in the world. And it's because of the violence, how this country was built. It was built on violence and money making. So
Mm-hmm.
it's still nothing new up under the sun. If you think about it, it's in this DNA country, in the DNA of the country. And then we talk about the orange man trying to come back. I'm not getting it. I'm really not I'm getting it, but I'm not getting it.
Mm-hmm.
He don't depend on government money to back him. He got billionaires backing him, and when he say, make this country great, we need to read between the lines. And that's just real. That's just real. Let's make this country great. We as a community need to become greater like we used to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. Well, first we got to get back to being a community, right?
But we like you say, it's been generations. Like I'm in a baby boomer bunch.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like after us, it got worse and worse. And I'll take the fall for our generation. I give a prime example. Like when I had my son, I had my career going. So I was
Mm-hmm.
so busy doing my career that I really didn't take the time. Like when I was born, my mother didn't work. So my mom was home giving me that foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And what I see happening is, in some of the cases, the way our society is going, that it's broken our homes up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Our
And
homes are definitely broken up.
and even to this day, even those that have gotten highly educated still don't get the true education our other sisters and brothers from the other mother got. I'm a throw it out there with these fraternities and sororities. They're not powerful like they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
They stood in for each other, but they selling each other out too. All
Mm-hmm.
they look for is showing up. If it's a big event, to show their logo or whatever. But I don't see their hands in the community like. And I give kudos to Royal Heights. I met Dorothy Heights about 20 something years ago when they had an office off on K Street when I lived in Paradise. And every year, I didn't call it the Put Your Guns Down event then, but I did a community day and
Mm-hmm.
shut that whole area down and used music. I wasn't incorporated then, but
Mm-hmm.
Dorothy Heights Corporation financed some of it. Kudos to Citibank, they financed it.
Mm-hmm.
The Islam group I lived in Paradise back in the time when they were redoing it. And the
Mm-hmm.
Muslims, the brothers were there kicking
Mm-hmm.
butt. That's when I
Yeah.
was back there. And I gained their respect that they let me use their 501c3 to help finance the program. But
Mm-hmm.
so again, it's getting involved and putting yourself out there. Folks nowadays don't want to do that.
I'm glad you said that. I remember visually growing up in Southeast DC, Chesapeake Parish. Shout out Chesapeake Parish, 634th Street, all my folk over there. But I remember my grandmother and all the big mamas in the community, they would be sitting in the laundry room meeting, organizing, talking about it, right? Whatever was going on or whatever needed to be discussed. I remember them, sitting in those laundry rooms, meeting about it, talking about it, and caring about the community, right? And so now when we go into these communities and they are, 3, 4, 500 strong with the units, then you go to the little association meetings and you got about 10 or 12 of them in there, right? But of course, if you knocked on every one of those doors, every one of those tenants will have something to tell you what's wrong, something wrong, or what they need, or who didn't do something for them, or who's failing them, or what have you. And I can't for the life of me figure out how it is we would allow these various types of slumlords and management companies come into our communities and we don't understand the importance of organizing when they come in our communities and treat us the way that they do. It's amazing. So it's something that we're losing on the generation in terms of being together, and so we have to look at from our grandparents to your generation to my generation to this next generation. They're getting further and further apart. As I said, our Gen Zs are just not, they're not even, tuned into our history, a lot of them. Shout out to Maria. Maria Surface came on the platform for Volunteers of America, and she was just such a breath of fresh air, all things considered. And I worry, I really do. I worry that we have communities in DC that look worse than the communities that we grew up in. How is that even possible? Right? And so then I'm sure we have some lawmakers and some community representatives that'll say, oh, they don't want nothing, that's how they're supposed to live. But that could be the answer. And it's just not acceptable.
You know what, Rhonda, I think some of it is that I remember this saying that the older generation always said, and I'm interpreting it this way. They said, never let the right hand know what the left hand is doing. And part of our problem today is social media. And everything you do, you want to post. So everybody know what's going on. And then we still got the Judas that the government offer you a little money, so you sell out. Some of these communities that we represent back in the day were up and coming communities. I mean, were fabulous when they first started. But again, government start teasing folks, well, if you do this, we're going to give you this. And the new generation don't want to work for nothing because it's all been given to them. Like when I grew up, they started out with the little designer stuff. And my mother, she was the strong one. My father, fathers are always soft on daughters, right? My mother would say, if you can write me a 1-page essay on what that designer do for you, then me and your father will go buy it. And then when we wrote it, they graded it. Most of the time, guess what? We didn't win. But it taught us something. I can remember Morton's. Remember Morton's?
Yeah.
And Carol Ann's and Montgomery Ward's. And I remember seeing this dress I wanted. It was in Montgomery Ward's. And back in the day when I was growing up, dresses that had the capes made to them was the thing, or either the hot pants set. But I saw this dress in Montgomery Ward's. And my mother said, I'm not paying all this money for it. Of course, I got upset. Then one day we went to Morton's, right? The same dress, $10 cheaper. My mother's like, I'm not buying you that. Go to Carol Ann's, and I think back in the day, everything was like $15 in Carol Ann's, right? The same exact dress, same label as the dress in Montgomery Wards. That taught me a valuable lesson.
Yeah. Every generation is different. You're changing, you should be changing for the better. And the reality, when you say Morton's, Lord, these kids will have a fit. These kids will have a fit. Even if you show them Montgomery Ward, it's sad because the trend, what's popular. Christopher Gastaway, can you hear us? We're just having conversation as two old hens will do as we try to get your sound working. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, awesome. Palms up to you and welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
Now.
Well,
how you doing?
I'm doing great. We're going to jump right in and introduce you to our guests because we want to give you a fair opportunity to talk to us about your travel. The Palms Up Show and Miss Rhonda and In My Mother's Keeper and Healthy DC and Overseer Coles are so excited that you made your travel safely to Bellingham, Washington. How long had you been living in the Washington, D.C. area before you left?
35 years.
Woo, 35 years. So you must have been a local. You must have been from D.C., a native. Is that the case?
Oh, you already know it.
Where were you
blood
from?
And raised the blood and raised DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia. They all have a piece of me, the DMV. So I was very fortunate that I was able to come out of all three.
Awesome.
So that was the most important thing.
Awesome. So 35 years, that sounds like you must be 35 years young. Is that what you want us to understand?
That's right.
So Bellingham, Washington, let's back up for a minute because you're someone who's had, we're sitting here talking about services in the city and people not being happy with what they have and what they're getting and not really being motivated to speak up. Being 35, you speak for another generation, that millennial generation. Talk to me about your knowledge of services and access in the district and how that impacted your day-to-day living.
Well, that's interesting because that could go a lot of different ways. I could start at the beginning or I could start in the middle, but all of it has a lot of trials and tribulations because it bleeds to other cities too.
No, I want to talk about Washington, D.C. Your experience in D.C.
Well, my experience in D.C. just has a lot of different avenues. The accountability, to understand how service is supposed to be.
When you say accountability, talk a little bit different from your standpoint. What do you mean by accountability?
Well, when we talk about accountability, we talk about just in and moving here, understand the purpose of what it means to move on from a DC agency that doesn't provide proper care and proper oversight with dealing with people with disabilities from different levels. And to understand that when it comes down to making changes in your life to be better, sometimes it can be very difficult for them to accept that, including the staff that you have with them. And they have them, go against you and things because they want to set you up for failure. And I believe that is the wrong approach to have when you deal with any type of mental health. Because nowadays, everybody has some level of understanding what mental health should be. Nowadays, we are more aware of it since the pandemic, but even before that, I think people just went through life and didn't care. But I think now it's starting to change with that. But the government hasn't changed much because they still do the same thing.
That's true. That's true. So, go ahead.
And then my biggest problem is too, in addition to, they make excuses when you want to get proper help or proper medicine and things. They don't want to provide it to you. They want to make excuses.
What kinds of excuses did you hear? Give us an example. I want you to speak to the citizen that's out there that may be receiving services through the city and not happy and need to be empowered hearing your story. What kinds of things would you hear from the district when you were trying to get help or better services?
This even when I was working before I went in a car accident, just providing proper transportation, that's a big thing. Having you paying for mileage for caregivers and that they are not being compensated for what they are doing. Um, Dealing with situations when you have a psychiatrist to say that they can't get the medicine, but you talk to somebody that doesn't have the same insurance, that I have, and able to get the same type of medicine. And then making excuses when it's time to give your allowance, monthly allowance, and you have to wait several days to get it. Things like that. If you want to do things that you need to get done.
Do you feel like you were taken for granted because you were in the system and receiving services? Do you feel like there were times when they just didn't understand you and didn't treat you properly?
Well, yes, in the District of Columbia, yes. Yes, I do believe that because it was always a certain standard that I didn't budge on, and I think the reason was mostly more taken advantage of. They didn't understand that the standard that I had, and I believe
What is
that.
the standard? Let's talk about your standard. What is the standard that you have that you feel they didn't understand?
Well, just getting simple things done, food wise, holding caregivers accountable, going through a situation where you have people want to come at home and regulate your home like it's their home, or there's people stealing things or causing you harm and distress, putting in reports in and then coming back inconclusive, or this a lot to deal with. And the district doesn't make it easy for accountability for them things because of the reason that they always want to cover something up. And that was the main reason why I left, was because of things like that. Or they talk about they have several different provider meetings. And you go to different providers because people feel like they causing too much problem. But it's not a problem. It's about responsibility. You cannot be a provider in the District of Columbia and think that you're going to pass the buck over to somebody else because they don't want to understand what I have to say, and I just got tired of that.
How long did you receive services in the district system?
Since the district system, from the Department of Disability Services, I was 21. Since I was 21.
21. Wow. What is that? 21, 35. That's 14 years. Wow. So you basically grew up in the system. Did you see it change any from when you first started in the system? Did you see anything change for the better or for the worse?
Well, at the beginning, people was young at the time. So people had a lot of inspiration in the District of Columbia. District of Columbia was growing. It was a way of people around the country wanted to be there. It was an exciting time in the district. When that recession happened, it really excited me because it really made people want to come back to the city and wanted to change the city and make it better for people. But when you have the government involved and you have the mayor that came in at that time, really disrupted a lot of things in a way that made it very difficult for people that was already here, because when they initially built Nationals Park was a big revenue for a long time. And, people was getting help with felons and people that was on drugs, people that was going to school, people that was coming out of jail, they was getting services and getting certifications so they can go to other places to work. Or if they want to leave the state, they can do that. Well, all that stuff was keeping down on crime. But what you don't have and then the police, they was doing checkpoints and jump outs in case they see anything that was happening. But a lot of our people was against the jump outs and the checkpoints because they they thought that Kathleen Nair, that was in police chief of DC, that she thought that we was thinking that that was a bad thing, and it wasn't, because it was cut down on the guns and the high crime areas. It was cut down on the issues that was involving our communities, so you couldn't bring that in our communities anymore. So it was cut down. It was necessary. It was a necessary thing that needed to be put in place, because, if people getting killed and people getting robbed and all these types of things that happen, you have to have them type of programs in place. And if we don't like it, but it's to keep the other generations to not have to keep going through that. And long before the police was saying that they couldn't do their job no more, where they took them programs away, it made it very difficult to help people. So
Mr. Gasaway, you talk pretty intelligent for a citizen in the system receiving services. I bet they couldn't deal with that. What was it that allowed you to invite My Mother's Keeper and Miss Rhonda along on your journey in the system? What was it, and what kinds of things had you been dealing with? Because you sound very intelligent, Mr. Gasaway.
Well, no, I just think that it was just timing. It was timing. I needed help, and the family wasn't doing their part. And I just think that I wasn't gonna. I had a guy that was running for mayor in my building, and it was something exciting, and I wanted to get the opportunity to help him change the city, and I wanted to hold Department of Disability Services accountable for the nation. And he didn't do his best with that. And I felt like that was a failure on our part. I mean, a failure on his part, because he wasn't fully open-minded of everything. And I feel like there was some things that he went through that people caught on to, and people got upset. And when you came on board, you wanted to fight for mental health because you were seeing things that was going on with Miss Regina Fleming. And, and we work hard out there. Me and Mr. Cody, we bust our tails out there. Because
I'm so proud of you. Let me give context. Let me give context for a minute. Shout out to Mr. Cody and to our matriarch, Miss Regina Fleming, with the My Mother's Keeper organization, which is the very reason why we started the organization. What you hear Mr. Christopher Gasaway speaking of is the reality of being a system for a citizen in the DC's system for very many years, and not being happy with the nature of services that he was receiving. And that's why My Mother's Keeper was formed, because we knew from Miss Fleming's care that there were challenges in the system, and that it was hindering her ability to live a higher standard or quality of living. And so I'm so excited to be talking to you, Christopher, 5 years later from when we started your journey. And as you mentioned, you were very active in a campaign for someone who was running for office, because you were very interested in changing the city and making sure that you had a voice in the understanding of what mental health services should look like. And so as I talked to you from Bellingham, Washington, you came up with the idea that you were ready to leave this daggone system. You were ready to move forward because you weren't willing to have people hold you down. So why Bellingham, Washington? And when did you come up with that?
Well, actually, it was I was watching Twilight, and I was watching Twilight, but that really wasn't that. That really wasn't it. That was just being in nature. That was something I really wanted to do, and I always used to watch the Seattle Mariners. It started in 2008. I started going to baseball, because I played baseball in high school and some other sports too. But the Seattle Mariners used to come to DC a lot, and Native American traditions or Japanese stuff that they had, the culture that they had over here on the West Coast, was something that was very interesting to me. And the rest is history. I always liked the wilderness. I used to go. Sometimes I would go to West Virginia with my friends while I was a child, and Shenandoah Mountains and things. And I always liked the smell of citrus. pine trees. I always like the smell of that. And that was something that I always wanted to do. I always liked the small towns too, because I always lived in the big city. Because the resources are still similar, but they, things when you're in the state, it's accountability is different from when you are in the District of Columbia.
I'm glad you pointed that out, that you're in a state. So you left the District of Columbia with no federal voting power, right? And now you over in Bellingham, Washington, where you will have voting power. Does that excite you?
Yes, that excites me because change needs to be over here too. But that's we'll get into that in a little bit. But because in my mother's keeper doesn't stand for the District of Columbia, it stands for the nation as a whole. And I think that was part of the reason why I came over here, because I wanted to see how public housing is. I wanted to see how their budgets look. I want to see what's going on in the communities. I want to hear from
but
people.
You did something that a lot of people won't do, especially not a citizen that's getting services from the Department of Disability or Mental Health or DBH or any of the organizations that are providing case management for our citizens. They would have us believe that they're not capable of going that far and making those kinds of decisions. What do you say to people who don't understand mental health on that level?
Well, when you put limitations on yourself, the outcomes are gonna come out bleak. So you just have to believe that you're capable of doing anything. And I think that as long as we keep putting stigmas on ourselves or let people do it, then we don't grow.
I got to thank you before our time runs out and just let you know how appreciative I am that you would be brave enough, courageous enough to be able to come and talk to our citizens, our listeners. Many of our folks out here are not that familiar with mental health and they only understand it from that negative, unhealthy standpoint. I don't know that many folks, especially folks in the program where you were, they weren't familiar with how educated you are and how intellectual you are in your communications. So I imagine that caused challenges for you, huh?
Well, yeah, and that was the main reason why I battled them for so many years, because they changed policies and things. And then as they change policies, they make it harder for you to get anything done. And I believe they do that because the district is not a state and they allow them to do that. So they bring their own lawmakers in. They change policies for anybody that gets through the system. Well, that's considered as a failure, because if you can't fight the system in a way that makes a difference in people's lives, then what is the point of doing it in the first place with the system in place? Because that's the whole point of it. And
I know that's right.
I think that's why a lot of people in the system get lost, is because they don't have the right type of representation, and the advocates that they do have are the ones that are in the system itself already. So they won't believe in you anyway, and that's dangerous, because if you're using the same type of pro bono lawyers and the same type of advocates that's being provided you in the same system that you're fighting against, then then it's defeating the purpose.
I'm
It's
so
defeating the
glad
purpose.
to hear you say that. I really am. I don't want time to get away from us. So how did you go to Bellingham? How did you travel to Bellingham?
I went through Amtrak.
You went on the train. Okay, okay. And I know, I posted a picture, but I want you to be able to tell us the story. So how long was your trip?
I can't hear you, man. I
How
can't
long
hear
was
you.
your trip?
It was 83 hours.
Woo! What you do for 83 hours? I know you talked to some of everybody on that train.
No, not everybody. Just a few people on there. You know,
Yeah. So
there's a few.
how was it stepping foot into Bellingham and realizing your dream? Because you have been waiting for what, 3 years to get selected to come that way on the housing list?
Yes.
So how did
You
it
know,
feel
I,
to finally accomplish your goal?
well, it feels great because of the reason that it took so long. The nervousness and and going to the situation of understanding being here, and then still working on other things too. At that is a good thing. I think the nervousness and I think the train ride was probably more peaceful because I prepared myself for so many years for this.
Mm.
So it was a lot more together than not, because I already passed that obstacle already, because
Mm.
I have been through so much. And when you've been through so much and you've seen so much, you just learn how to do things differently.
That's right. Christopher, you are going to help a lot of people tonight. And we're going to make sure that we share this feed so that we get it in front of as many people as we can. It is so important for our folks to understand that mental health is just one aspect, or a diagnosis of a mental health challenge is just one aspect of who you are as a person. And as I sit here and I listen to you speak, I'm so proud. I'm so proud. And I'm so excited for this next chapter of your life. I want to invite Overseer Coles to come to the conversation. I've been telling her Christopher left. He's almost there. He's there now. And so, Overseer Coles, Christopher, meet Overseer Coles.
Hey, Christopher.
Yeah, how you doing?
Fine. I hear the joy in your voice since you're there.
Oh yes, yes. Yeah, it is. Because it's as I walk through the city and see things, I say to myself, it's not like Washington D.C., but
Okay.
it's talking to you meet different people on the way and just talking to different people, and now I have a full clarity of it now. But when you sit in the community meetings, you will find a lot more as the time go on. But uh, things that go on in this city is very different than what it is on the East Coast. For what I have seen, the homeless population is not as big as what ours is. So I just think that's different. The mental health thing, that's another thing in itself. But um, it's still not the same as it is in the district.
How is
Okay.
the weather there?
The weather is very gloomy. It's gloomy. Um, some people will be depressed by this, but this don't really bother me. You know, this doesn't bother me because it
You've been
doesn't
waiting
bother
so
me.
long to get there. You can't let a little bit of gloomy weather stop you, huh?
No, it doesn't bother me because it just, it's just resting weather for me. I don't let the weather change who I am. I change as the weather come. I don't see too much different with that because I have done with sun all my life and things like that. So it's not like I don't know what to take or what to do. So, I always say take your 50,000 units of vitamin D2 because you need it when you don't have a lot of sunshine. And
That's
because
true.
That's
it
true.
makes you it makes you age. It makes you age when you don't take it. So I just look at it as an opportunity of change and spreading the word in my mother's keeper, and the work don't stop because I'm not on the East Coast. The work just spreads, and that was the part of the main reason why I came over here, because I want to fight and find out, what's different between the state and the District of Columbia. But you know, me and you talked about this 5 years ago. My plan always was to spread out, to spread this word. Because
I'm so
you
proud of you
know,
for being persistent because it wasn't
Yeah.
easy. And boy, do we
no,
have
I said in the very beginning it wasn't gonna be easy. I was telling your mother, I said, Miss Fleming, I said, me with Ron, this gonna be hell on sticks. But it just, I knew it was coming because I saw it coming. I just knew it. And it's the order for you to make change, you gotta spread out and see how it is in other places, and then you go. That's how you build cases for the Congress, because we have to do that in order to make changes in cities to get people on board and talk about their testimonies in that case. Because the reason I believe it goes on here too, it's just this is a different way of doing it. I just feel like that the more you talk to people about it and the more people get aware of it, the more things can change. But and that's why I went on and really came out here for that too, and it came out to see how things are. Because
What are your goals?
my goal is just the homelessness thing. I think that's a big thing, and the mental health that I see on the street here. I think that's important. And
Yes.
the public housing that they have. I think it can be better. I think a budget that they have is not what ours is in the district, and I think it can be better. And I think that a lot of people can feel that way. I think a lot of people get scared when they're in public housing. I think the government really try to shun people who don't have a voice. I think people feel like that if I just can get by, and don't do no more than that, then I don't have to worry about anything happening. And I think it's not always that way. And I
So
think that
the
things can
time is
change.
running down, so I want to get a few more questions in. I'm so impressed with you, Mr. Christopher Gasaway. I love your observations and your perspectives. And there are people here in the District of Columbia that didn't observe you in this way. They didn't understand your talents and your strengths. They would rather look at you for what they deem was weaknesses or your diagnosis or your medical realities or what have you. You have certainly impacted the system here in the district. Do you have family here in the district or in the
Oh,
DMV?
I have tons. Actually, I have tons all over the United States, but my immediate family, the Gasaways, we are in the district of DC, Maryland area. And yes, I do.
I bet
Um,
they were excited once they realized that you were actually making the trip, huh?
well, that's part of mental health too. You see, when you think that people are going to be happy for you, they really should come around and turn back. Because they leave with their own understanding. And then they found out that it's not, you know, my father called me on a video and said, "Oh, what you doing? Is everything okay?" I said, "Yeah, everything's out of my surroundings." And yes, I pay attention now. But my thing is everything in my mother's keeper is a work in progress, and I just stay focused on that, and that's why I come to these meetings now because I wanted to make sure that them things that was going on in them houses that I want to make sure that I had clarity and understand how they got out. I don't situation because of the reason that it wasn't the most healthiest to even do these meetings. So I didn't want to get into. That's why it took so many years because I want to make sure that I was at a point that was together. So when I come back on these meetings, I have a new perspective on things, and it's not talk about the same thing that I continue to go to. But they are never the DC government. We're gonna be fighting them all over, and that's just what that reality is. And
Well,
if
I
people
thank
think
you.
and if people think I came to Bellingham, if people think I came to Bellingham, Washington to shake people's hands and kiss ass, I'm not. I'm not doing that.
Go ahead, Christopher.
I'm not doing that. And Pastor, I
Thumbs
don't
up.
usually talk. Pastor, I don't usually. You can't see me right now, but it's the truth. I come in to make sure that I didn't forget and spread this word out more, and then make sure, I have y'all involved in that because it has to grow. It must, and it can't.
Hey, take a breath. Take a
Yeah.
deep breath, soldier, so I can give you your accolades. Palms up to you, soldier, up there in Bellingham, Washington, repping MI Mother's Keeper and all the wonderful work and support that you will continue to receive throughout the duration of your journey. I had asked you what your goals were because I wanted to know if you was going to talk about the WWE for us, but I'm going to have to
Oh
bring you
yeah,
back.
that's well. I am gonna say that we're not gonna leave that hanging. Oh
Uh-oh.
no, oh no, we're not gonna
So
lead
you
our
still
running.
got goals. So you still got goals to go into that wrestling arena, huh? And you're gonna take this
You
mental.
that's part of it, and then I want to run for Congress one day.
Oh
So
All
yeah,
now,
right then.
oh now. Hey guys,
so
Christopher, hold on for a minute because we're gonna run out of time. Hey guys, it's your girl, It's like that the hour is just about wrapped up. We're talking to a beautiful soul, Mr. Christopher Gassaway, who is a citizen from Washington, D.C., who spent over 14 years in the city's Department of Disability Services system and received case management and services, and a lot of what many of our present day citizens are dealing with, Christopher has dealt with. And he invited our advocacy to the table 5 years ago so that we can help his care team see him for who he is and not for who they thought he was. And even though he battled, for the better part of 5 years that we've been on board, he still set goals. He still has been able to achieve them, and he's speaking to you from Bellingham, Washington, where he selected that he wanted to live. Now, he didn't just pick it out the sky. You know, there were certain things, as you heard him say, that had him enlightened to it. He liked the idea of nature and smelling citrus and being out in open, dry air. There were many things about the climate in Washington State that he liked in Bellingham. But for the past 4 years, I have witnessed Christopher do all kinds of research. He would call me in the middle of the day and late at night, early in the morning with these different statistical understandings of Bellingham, Washington. And that's why I knew that once we were able to help him successfully transition and go get on his journey, that he was going to be just fine because he spent so much time researching and talking about it and looking into it. And that was while receiving care from a system that would not even give him credit for being that intellectual. And so, Christopher, you are a wonderful example for so many, and I know you're going to continue to do well. And I just wanted to take time out and say palms up to you, soldier. You represent well up there for DC and for your family. I'm going to invite Overseer Coles if she has a message for you before we wrap up, and then I'm going to invite you to give us a closing message, okay?
Okay.
I'm so proud of you, Christopher. I'm gonna start calling you our new community advocate. You know what you want, you know what you want to accomplish. And the main thing is you got a heart for people and you want to help them out. From your experience, you'll be able to help them in a positive manner. Keep up the good work, Christopher. Keep it up.
Yeah, I would do that because it's very important to. You know, everybody doesn't have the same experiences, so you just have to, meet people where they at, and then let's go forward and talk about it in the city. So that's what you have to do, and I think that's the most important thing when we look at people growth. Meeting them where they at, and then going forward with that.
Amen. Amen. Do you have a closeout message for our audience? I'm so thankful that you were able to sit in with us this evening.
Yes, my closing will be: don't give up hope and be consistent in what you believe in, no matter what the circumstances is. And if you willing to have people around you to really support you to grow, then why not? Why not continue to do it? And I always say the more tough it is, the more I mean it. and tomorrow would not be like today, because the future would never be the same. So
I'm so proud of you. I thank you. I'm going to bring you back on from time to time so you can give our viewers and our listeners an update for your life up there in Bellingham. Maybe you can take us along for the journey and teach us about the beautiful area and scenery and some of the challenges that you run into, because obviously everything's not perfect and from day to day things change. But I'm so honored that you were willing to come on and do this, because I know that we're going to help a soul out there. There's somebody who want to make a change, Christopher. There's somebody who's frustrated getting the services that they're getting. There's somebody out there that's ready to give up. And in hearing your message, I am really excited to know that people will learn that all you have to do is stay hopeful and get the right types of support in your corner. Mental health is something that is a personal journey for everyone. Everyone's journey is different. And so when you're not able to have proper representation around you, there are people that might not mean you well. And so it's important that you speak out and embrace who you are so that we can help you build a better life for yourself and get the types of resources around you. It's your girl, and palms up just like that. We are wrapping up. I want you to know that on March the 9th, there is a gun violence spiritual colloquium that is hosted by the Volunteers of America, Chesapeake and Carolinas. We're going to convene next week, and we're going to have more guests on that are going to talk to us about the Volunteers of America, Chesapeake and Carolina gun violence colloquium. As we talked about this gun violence continuing at the beginning of the hour, I told you we're at 9 homicides, we're at 77 assaults with a dangerous weapons. We are 198 robberies in, and we have 416 motor vehicle thefts to date. We are just 30 days in. As we ended last year, where 19 of the 274 homicides were to young people, 18 years old and under. 2 of them were infants. We've got to do something about this gun violence. And Volunteers of America, Chesapeake and Carolina, has said that they want more than just your thoughts and prayers. They want you to show up on March the 9th. It's going to be from 1 to 6 p.m. at the Metropolitan Community Church of Washington, D.C. It's over at 474 Ridge Street Northwest, and they've got a series of things planned. It's free. You're going to eat. They're going to allow us to be able to write letters to our local representatives about this gun violence. And if you are someone who's been impacted or affected by the gun violence, we want to hear from you. Chaplain Jules Christian, her phone number, you can reach her, is at area code 336-419-7579. Do me a favor and pass this information along. There's so many families affected and impacted by this negative gun violence, and we want to do something different. They're going to have many speakers. They want to pack the place. They want over 200 people. We've been helping to get this message out there, looking for sponsors. Why don't you add your name to the event? Why don't you get your organization involved? Guys, it's time to come together so that we can show up in a mighty voice. They want to strengthen the community with dialogue around this gun violence, guys. They want to foster the unity and awareness for nonviolent situations, and they want to bring encouragement and tools to support victims of gun violence. That is happening on Saturday, March the 9th. Mark your calendar now. You can go to www.voachesapeake.org/colloquium, and you can get more information. And remember, you can call Chaplain Jules with any questions. They're looking for donations and sponsorships, and there are many different levels to help you to get involved. Her number is 336-419-7579. Guys, you hear us talking to Mr. Christopher Gastaway, one of the citizens in our network of support. Healthy DC Leadership and My Mother's Keeper is out in this community to help folks be stronger, strengthened, and to be able to go forward in their own journeys without people and stigma holding them back because we don't understand matters of mental health. Guys, it's your girl, and the work is real. Healthy DCME Leadership would like for you to join us to Congress. We're rallying the Congress because many citizens, on top of everything else they're dealing with, they're going to dialysis, and many of them are dying. Let's just be real. This dialysis and this billion-dollar practice that's happening with these DaVita centers that are popping up in poor neighborhoods, that is by design. We're rallying to Congress because we need oversight, and just like with Christopher, we want to make certain that every citizen has an opportunity to live out their best life. And many can't do that because their healthcare outcomes are poor, their economic outcomes are poor, their educational outcomes are poor, and everything around them is going past them and leaving them behind. Healthy DCME Leadership understands the importance of mental health and mental wellness. Everybody deserves a fair opportunity to live their best life. Hey guys, it's your girl, and we are so appreciative that every Tuesday you take time out and give us this hour. We don't want to abuse your time. We just thank you. Palms up. And Mr. Gastaway, I thank you again for coming to the platform and sharing some of your story. We're going to invite you back. And my dear Overseer Coles, love you to life, dear Queen. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with us. We're going to come back next week with another wonderful episode. And there he is. Here's his face. Hey, Christopher.
All right now.
All right, guys, it's your girl, and just like that, we're wrapping up. www.healthydcandme.org. Get all that wonderful information. Sign up to go to the rally. Guys, our Cash App, I didn't even say it. It's Palms Up, the number 4MI. If you want to support the work that we do, we would love to have you. God bless you. See you next week. Love you guys. Talk to you soon, Christopher.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.